Are you ready? I know you're not.
I saw that you liked my tweet about this. Have you read this guy's comics?
Dude, I love that guy. I think he's such a good writer.
Yeah.
I went up to TCAF. Josh Cotter and I drove up there like in 2016, I think. And I was standing right next to him talking to Josh. Josh didn't know who he was. And I guess he'd handed Josh his book or something before I had walked up. And he was just some guy. And I didn't find out until we were driving home that it was him. I'm like, God damn it, I've wanted to meet that guy forever. And I didn't even know because I had no idea what he looked like. Like I always picture him looking kind of like an outdoorsman or something. Doesn't he like kayak all the time and like live in the woods or something?
I think so, but I think he's also just kind of a scrawny nerd type.
Right.
Like this.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I haven't found anything. Did this just come out or did you find it?
No, this is old. It's got to be like 1990 or something.
Oh, and that's him.
It's copyright 2001.
Okay.
But that's him in the 80s. So yeah. He's old. He's like 60 now or something, I guess.
Right. Yeah, I have a couple collected versions of his work.
I think that might be the way to go.
Yeah.
Like I saw this and it's like it's a number 1 of volume 2, and it's like, oh, I've never heard about this series, and they're smaller than a regular comic. And then something he did was like a magazine size.
Yeah. He needs they need to make like an omnibus of his stuff, like a big thick ass book. I think that would be really cool.
But see, I think there's a couple of maybe 2 or 3 books that probably collect this that are like, they're thick, like 1/2 inch thick.
Yeah.
Paperbacks. I don't know. That would be fine too, but I don't have them.
At least one of them, I think, is on kind of yellow paper. That looks real good too.
Yeah. I mean, he has new stuff coming out. I haven't got it, but it comes out from that Conundrum, maybe that Canadian outfit.
Is he not through Drawn and Quarterly?
I don't think he is.
That's still going, right? He used to be.
Yeah, you're right. I feel like I've seen a couple of things from Conundrum. Is it Conundrum? I don't know. I'm kind of spacing on. I don't know all the indie publishers anymore.
You've given up. You don't care about that stuff anymore.
I guess. I don't know. I don't care, kind of.
It's just so decentralized now that Tom is gone. I kind of feel like he was really like the connective tissue. His blog was very comprehensive when it came to like indie comic stuff. Like it was a good place to go to see what was going on. And no one's really replaced him. So there's no like go-to place to keep up with what's going on with the the various indie publishers. Or if there is, I don't know where it is.
All right, let's do this comic. Let's go through it real fast.
Today we're looking at Legion of Superheroes Volume 4, Number 3. It was published on November 14th, 1989, though the cover date is January of 1990. We have the usual crew: Keith Giffen, Tom and Mary Bierbaum, and Al Gordon as co-writers. Giffen also drew it. Gordon also inked it. And we have Tom McCraw coloring it and wishing he was in on the writing, but no.
He's biding his time.
Todd Klein is the letterer, and Mark Waid is the editor, who will also end up a writer for Legion. So on the cover, we got Roxxas, the Butcher, and what remains of Blok. Alas, poor Blok.
Is this a spoiler cover? Like you kind of know who this is going to be, right?
Yeah, got a good feeling. What are those? There's like metal rods, like the kind you would have in a statue, like protruding. It looks like on the
Blok has rebar for bones.
Is that a skeleton? Yeah. Yikes.
He's just concrete, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
You suppose concrete has rebar? The Paul Chadwick concrete?
Oh, I missed that book. That guy can draw.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
Maybe. I don't know.
I can't remember. They did they analyzed him, but
doesn't he have like a human brain or something?
Yeah, I don't know. I think they analyzed. He got turned into this form by aliens.
Right.
And I don't know if they ever got to the bottom of what he actually was made of.
Yeah, because it kind of like almost abandoned the sci-fi and went off philosophical.
Well, yeah, I don't know if it was ever sci-fi outside of the alien stuff.
Right.
Because I think, like you only meet aliens like one time in your life, probably. So he wasn't ever going to figure it out.
I've met him twice so far.
Oh, shit. Really?
Different races, too. It's crazy.
Oh, really? Like Greys?
And... That's for my other podcast.
All right. You'll have to have me as a guest so I know what you're talking about.
So we open up with another kind of clever device, not unlike the one they used in the very first issue, a way of showing us a whole bunch of different points of view and to give us an idea of what's going on in the universe at large. What we're seeing is 9 panels showing 9 different points of view of 9 former Legionnaires that are somehow being monitored through their own eyesight.
Oh, that's right. It is like it's a point of view of each of these people.
Right.
Huh?
You're seeing it through their eyes. And so we see Nura Nal, the former dream girl on Naltor, and apparently she is now the Madam High Seer. Then we go to Earth and we see Dirk Morgana involved in some sleazy stuff with the Dominators. Then we go to Jan. How do you say his last name?
Ara?
Ara?
I always say Jan Ara.
Jan Ara, Element Lad. We're seeing him look at the ruins of Trom, so he's back on Trom, whatever he's doing. Then we go to Shanghala, which I was saying wrong before, but now that I've paid attention to the actual word, is it like Shangri-La and Valhalla put together? Is that the idea?
Oh, it must be. I never really thought about it. I thought it was just like a messed up way of doing Shangri-La, but yeah, you're right. It's probably the combination.
Right. And we're seeing Largan's point of view, who is, of course, dead, so it's all black, except, is it? We're seeing like some little speech bubbles appearing and a little shimmer of light.
Yeah, I read this online today,
mm-hmm.
And these word balloons are completely illegible on here, but in person, I think, does this say awakened? And then this says rather, maybe?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'd have to pull out my magnifying glass. And I bet this video is going to be blurry, so we'll see.
We see Dawnstar on some uncharted planet. We can't really tell what's going on, except she's in the middle of some kind of firefight, and maybe someone's referring to her as a red witch.
I wonder where did they get this? Like these guys in outer space, they still think of like Native Americans as being red people.
Oh, I didn't even put that. I didn't even think about that. But
like this is a space racist,
right? Yeah, that's got to be what it was. I was thinking, red witch, white witch, not that different.
No, I think it's because she's an Indian, but she's a space Indian too.
Right.
Kind of silly.
Mm-hmm.
Silly racist, I guess.
Yes. So we go back to Earth, and we're in some kind of prison of some sort, and we've got Brack Bannon, the last Legionnaire, who was arrested for not quitting, basically. And he has received junk mail through prison, so it's addressed to convict Bannon. It's funny how the tone of each of these follows the tone. Whenever we see him going forward, it's going to be like a funnier moment. So we have a funny panel of him getting junk mail in prison here. Then we move to Xanthu, where we see Tom Keller, the former Starboy. He is now the coach of some team. It looks here like hockey to me, but I'm pretty sure it's baseball. This is must be the future attire of baseball players.
They wound up doing an issue about the sports team that he coaches, and they don't look like this in that issue.
Okay.
It's whatever 35 months from now, or something.
Then we move to Kulu, where we see Quill Dox, or someone talking to Quill Dox, and saying there's more important things to do than to focus on one child, which we will probably be able to determine the identity of before the end of this. And finally, it brings us to the characters we've been following, Reap Daggle and Rock Kryn on Rimbor.
I think it's funny how in these early issues, a lot of times when they do computer text like these guys, it's printed right out of like an early Mac, like the computer lab Mac green screen ones, and just paste it up.
Like they printed it, cut it out, and pasted it on.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's that big chunky. It looks like they're made out of like big black block squares.
Like it's weird. Like sometimes, like this one, it looks like hand lettered on his junk mail.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But then these ones, I don't know. I think sometimes it might have looked better if it was hand lettered or yeah, I don't know. I get that this was probably easier and looked straight up computery.
Right.
But they had, you know, like you read older stuff before desktop publishing, and they would do paste up lettering to look computery, and it was a font, but it looked a little better than this.
Yeah, this looks a little basic.
Basic A. Like I'm not as into this. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it gives you the idea that this is somehow being monitored by a computer, but at the same time, we know we're seeing things through their eyes. But
yeah, I think it took you telling me that I was seeing the point of view of each character. I didn't really think of it. Yeah, it's very clear now. And yeah, this page has introduced us to some characters we hadn't seen yet from the older chronology.
Right. Pretty much all of which will come into play as the story progresses.
Except for Dawnstar and Starboy.
They both show up. What are you talking about?
Not for a while, though. Starboy never has a big part in this.
Well, I mean, he does, maybe not during Giffen's run per se, but he does show up and he is a baseball coach.
Yeah, that's in issue 37.
Okay. Which we'll be covering in 2034.
Unless your UFO podcast gets too famous when you have to quit doing this.
I'll do both. So moving along, we see that all those point of view shots are being read by these blue probe guys. Apparently they have some kind of telepathic capability in there. They're seeing through the eyes of various former Legionnaires and keeping tabs on them for Mordru, who's concerned that the Legion may soon reform.
Yeah, these probe guys.
They're everywhere. They're like assistants for everyone, and maybe no one knows that they're all spying for Mordru.
Well, I think you can just get them and you can program them to do whatever you want. It's like when you see somebody with like an iPad, but it does more than just like tablet computing. It does some kind of crazy controlling some other kind of stuff, and you're like, well, you do that with an iPad? You know? It was like when iPads first came out 10 years ago or whenever it was, and you'd see somebody using it for some totally different purpose than what you and I use it for, just to look at the internet or whatever.
Right.
That's what these guys are, because they're also new within the, like, Paul Levitz never wrote a story that had these people in it. They're brand new within the last 4 years. But even a hotshot like Mordru is like, I wonder if I can make them like magical eavesdropping nest cameras or whatever. And you just put this blob of gloop on the side of their head and they can do that.
Yeah. They alert him that there's a sign that the team is getting back together because they stumbled upon Rock and Reap trying to find Joe. They go to tell him, and he's in the process of torturing Ron Dar, the former kid sidekick of the Legion, who later became a Green Lantern for one issue. But he is a Green Lantern no more as of this issue because Mordru destroys his ring. He is torturing him with this, it's like the Sarlacc or something, like some sort of eating organism, but it apparently can eat him over and over and over. It's digesting him over and over and over again.
Yeah, it eats him to death, and then I guess he just magically reforms and gets eaten again.
Right, and also he has no mouth.
Pretty messed up.
Right. And Mordru seems a little different here, like he's still obviously evil, but he's not the wild-eyed, angry, crazy Mordru. He's more reserved, more calculating,
Mm-hmm.
at least than he was in the Silver Age and Bronze Age. We may have to revisit Volume 3 and see how they wrote him there.
Yeah, he wasn't in that much. He was in like an issue, and I don't remember what it was about. He's on the cover.
Well, I think it leads to this. I think maybe the White Witch was going to reform him or something.
Oh, yeah, that was kind of what it was. Or maybe she actually did somehow make him like a nice guy or something.
Right.
If that happened, it's been undone now because he's worried that the Legionnaires are going to show up and take away his power or something.
Something has changed. Maybe he's on some antidepressants or antipsychotics. He's not running around with a big crazy hat looking like someone from Burning Man.
I like that hat.
Yeah? With the eyeball?
On the wings.
I'll have to get you one. Okay.
Yeah, get me one.
So then we cut to Wynneth, home of the Lightning triplets, or they're not triplets, twins, and the three Lightning guys. Lightning Lad, Lightning Lass, Lightning Lord. We're at the Rands family farm, which is called the Lightning Ring Plantation.
Very clever.
Mm-hmm.
Like the rings of Saturn, right?
Sounds a little too close to the name of our podcast. We may have to sue.
We should have just called it that.
Yeah. Yeah, that would go well, a podcast with the name Plantation in it. These pages are kind of notable to me because they're so banal, like they're just regular day-to-day tasks. And I'm just, at least in superhero comics, you're not accustomed to seeing people just going through their day-to-day work stuff. Like we see at the bottom left side that Garth is walking away, and then you would expect like his brother there to think something sinister or dramatic, but he's just thinking about, maybe I could save some money if I move. you know, it's all very like regular day-to-day stuff.
Yeah, it's like these two guys, like in the old comics, anytime they were in the same comic book together, they're trying to murder one another. And now they're like, talking about inventory at their shop and logistics and crap like that. Yes, super boring.
Seems like they've become kind of the breadbasket of this part of the universe or something. They're maybe the major supplier of produce to other planets.
I think it says that right in the text page at the end.
Right, and apparently they've lost a ton of it, which is going to set them back financially.
Like they spend the whole page talking about an asteroid and their shipment of produce.
Mm-hmm. I think they've somehow lost track of it, like it didn't get to where it was supposed to be.
Well, but he says, how can an asteroid just get up and walk across the galaxy? And that, I guess, on the asteroid is a bunch of the produce. But then he's talking about, like, it's not that they lost it, it's just not where it's supposed to be.
Right.
Wasn't quite sure. I didn't remember this ever being, like, a plot point, but the fact that they spend a whole page talking about it makes me think that like this is supposed to be linked into something, you know. I mean, but I don't know that it is.
It may be, and I've just forgotten, but I read it as being just a regular. This kind of stuff happens in business all the time. Like you're expecting a shipment, you're depending on it, and for some reason it didn't show up. It was sent to the wrong place,
and that makes sense, but. On the other hand, as far as a storytelling thing, like it's if it is that, they spent definitely one, but probably two whole pages talking about this thing that is irrelevant, except to show that, oh yeah, these guys run a big farming business now.
I mean, that's how I took it. I took it like that is the banal plot, just to show that they're living like just regular grown-up non-superhero lives now. Yeah.
Oh, this next page, it begins with Saturn Girl, I guess, thinking. She says 30 tons of produce just sitting there where an asteroid used to be. Over here, an asteroid moved from one place across the galaxy to another place.
No, I don't remember. I thought they were delivering it to the asteroid.
I guess they are, and the asteroid's not there; it's someplace else. And in this panel, Lightning Lord's trying to think of other ways to sell the produce and get it somewhere else. I'm just curious about this asteroid, this disappearing asteroid.
I guess we'll all find out together.
I guess so. I hope they talk about it again and not in 37 issues from now.
Right. We see their son Graham playing by himself and bored. So his twin is absent for some reason. That little green guy, I kept wondering if that's the little action figure. Mm-hmm. If that's that green fellow from the 70s comic. Remember that Jack Kirby looking guy we were talking about?
Yeah, I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
What's his name? It's like Photon or something?
Yeah. We have a bouncing boy, punching bag, blow up toy in the back. Or maybe it's the real bouncing boy. He's come upon hard times, can't find anything to do for a living now. So he's just a professional toy.
Uh-huh. On the plantation, he's a toy.
Yeah. They pay him just to sit there and let the kid hit him. The only other thing we really see here is that Irma is pregnant again. It's kind of the big reveal in the last panel.
This is like the same pose that they showed Night Girl in to show that she was pregnant. Like you have to pull the camera way back,
right,
and show her with her hand sort of draped across her belly.
Right. Yeah, I mean it's kind of one of the 9-panel grid is great, but one of the drawbacks is you're always the camera, so to speak, is always up close. So they have to pull back for us to see their whole body every now and then.
Yeah. This is like one of his Giffen's panels that always work or whatever, you know? It's like, oh, need to reveal she's pregnant. There you go. It's this panel.
Well, he worked with Wallywood for a while, didn't he?
A little bit. He's on his shit list.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Now we know why. We see elsewhere that Salu Digby and Alia. I'm saying a lot of these names out loud for the first time in my life, despite reading these forever.
I always read these out loud.
Oh.
Or at least my lips are moving when I read them.
They're wandering around the woods nude, which is apparently a custom on this planet. They stumble upon the statues of the fallen Legionnaires. Apparently, Garth was able to pull some strings and get a hold of them when they were scrapping and auctioning off the Legion headquarters.
Yeah, you think it's just the dead ones, or what? Did they have all the Legionnaires?
Just the dead ones.
Whose arm is this? It must be Pharaoh Lad.
That's what I think, yeah. We see Pharaoh Lad. We see one of Triplicate Girl's bodies. We see Superboy. So he still exists at this point.
For now.
They've constructed some kind of eternal flame to commemorate the ones who have died since the Legion was no longer in a position to make gold statues of them. Either they were broken up or they were on their way out.
Yeah, and it's Paul Kryn, Mon-El, and Tinya Wazo, who is Phantom Girl. Those first two guys died. Well, I don't know. I don't remember when Mon-El died. They kind of died in the last issue or the Magic Wars period. It
was a little ambiguous. I don't think they ever said, holy shit, Mon-El's dead. I think we saw like his heart monitor flatline or something.
Oh, yeah.
And it was in the middle of like the big final battle or something in the last issue, I think.
Right.
Yeah, and Magnetic Kid, of course, died. And as we learned last issue, Phantom Girl died during the gap. Moving along, we go to Rimbor. That's Ultra Boy's homeworld. And we have a very blatantly Star Wars-esque scene. It's very reminiscent of the cantina scene in the first Star Wars, where they want to meet up with Han Solo, and the Wookiee shows up. So the Wookiee this time we have Furball.
To me, it has some Total Recall vibes.
Oh yeah,
right here.
I can see that too. And of course, Joe is being portrayed as like this pirate smuggler guy, very Han Solo-ish. Furball, of course, turns out to be somebody, but that will not be revealed for quite a long time. They have to trust him to take them to Joe.
Ultra Boy.
Ultraman.
Oh, this last panel does cut back to Mordru and shows us that they're still being spied upon by Mordru.
That is correct.
Is that a repeated panel? Sure is. Look at that.
Where?
Right here.
Oh.
So lazy.
What is he doing?
Like he can't even draw 9 panels every page. He's so lazy.
So here we have Reap and Rock taking a lift to Joe's underground hideout. Joe's with his associates who are surprised that he really does know Legionnaires. Like they thought he was just, hey, yeah, I used to be a Legionnaire. Oh, there's Greedo, by the way.
He looks like Greedo, but he talks like C-3PO.
Uh-huh.
He's like, oh dear. He's like really uptight about the security.
Do they name any of them here?
I think he calls out a name of somebody who's like, he has to turn over the operation to.
Right, he does later. There's some guy named Phil.
Yeah, it must be this guy. Or maybe one of these two guys. Greedo. Yeah. Yeah, why wouldn't it be Greedo, huh? I don't know why. I assumed that it would be the white humanoid guy instead of the green guy. It's probably the green guy is a smart one.
Right. So once again, we see that they're being monitored. And it's kind of a neat trick. Like the action is continuing on. It's like we're just getting the audio of it. So this is them like hugging and saying how you're doing, but we're only hearing their voice through the probe.
They have like a elevator monitor,
mm-hmm.
and that's all we see of Cosmic Boy and Chameleon Boy. It's like a way he can get away with having those characters on this page without drawing them at all.
Cutting corners.
Yeah, this is the laziest issue so far. Issue 3, he's already getting lazy.
That Keith Giffen guy. That's one thing people always say about Keith Giffen.
Like only 7 issues this month?
Right. Then we go to Earth, where we have the Dominators, who, like Mordru, are also keeping tabs on the Legionnaires and also worried about them possibly reforming. They're also a little concerned about choosing Roxxas as their agent to presumably prevent them from reforming. They decide to review a tape that I think he sent to them, and they're going to evaluate him according to this tape.
I kind of liked the idea that like within like a week or whatever of the Legionnaires like just exploring the idea of getting back together. They've already got Mordru the Merciless and the Dominators like quaking. They're already worried. Like Mordru's spying on them, watching everything they do of every Legionnaire.
Mm-hmm.
The Dominators have already hired a guy to go kill them all if possible. I don't know. It never made an impact on me reading this prior to today when I read it. That they really want us to think this is a big deal that these Legionnaires are starting to get back together.
Well, yeah,
and I guess it is, but
they've all been profiting greatly, doing really well without the Legion in their way.
And the Dominators are really worried about. Well, these two Dominators are not worried about Roxxas. They think they've got it under control. They think that humans are far beneath them and they can control them. Any one of them, even the one who's completely deranged and has homicidal multiple personalities. They're like, we'll just try it out. We got it.
Right.
But they also, one guy is confident and the other guy is worried that this is not going to go off. And I wonder which guy is going to be right.
One of them is kind of incompetent, I think. We are watching them watch the tape, I guess. And that's how we cut to the puppet planetoid. We see Roxxas arguing with himself, approaching Blok, who seems to be hibernating.
Yeah, I like the detail on this page where they, the Dominators are annoyed by all his chatter, and so they mute like 75% of his voices,
right,
and just hear the relevant one.
Right. That is, I just have to say, that is a kick-ass Superboy drawing. Is that Ty Templeton? Who is that?
To me, it looks like Kevin McGuire inked by Ty Templeton.
Wow, that's very specific.
Well, the face, the Superboy face looks like a Ty Templeton face, but everything else says Kevin McGuire. Even the text says Kevin McGuire.
Oh, it does. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Or it says covers by McGuire.
I didn't even bother to look down. I didn't see either of their names. It also has does it look like they tried to give it like those TV lines?
Oh, well, yeah, it has this kind of whatever duo shade type of shading where there's some vertical lines,
right,
and there's like a diagonal one to add an extra darker tone,
like maybe to imply that they're leaping out of the TV.
Yeah, I think that must be what they're kind of going for.
Yeah,
even though the lines are going the wrong way for what you think of as a CRT. Right. But yeah, it even has the scene on TV sticker there, like a Ron Popeil. I
always thought it was very strange and ironic that right now, right where we are in the Legion, they're trying very hard to extract themselves from Superboy, and soon they'll be writing him out of history altogether. Crisis is saying he never was Superboy, of course. But then at the same time, they're promoting a Superboy TV show.
Yeah.
They're not all on the same page. You think they would want those more synchronized. Roxxas approaches the slumbering Blok and proceeds to dismember him with small explosives. It's kind of interesting that he wakes Blok up by blowing his arm off, and he doesn't even seem to notice. Or that's not the thing he's most worried about. He doesn't seem to be in pain. He's just like, who woke me up? He dispatches with them pretty quickly.
I think he mentions that he's using anti-Legion weaponry that the Dominators have developed. Mm-hmm. Like they have, I don't know, bombs, I guess, or bombs that'll blow up a rock.
A Dryadian.
But yeah, he fucks him up. Blows off his arm.
Right.
This is like a mushroom cloud almost down here in this panel. And yeah, now his legs are both blown off.
Not cool. I think it's intentionally left ambiguous whether it's like a dying hallucination or if maybe he has somehow actually reached some sort of Dryadian afterlife, but he seems to be on Dryad and encountering Strata, who's another of his race, who's a member of Legion, the sort of present day version of the Legion.
Yeah, the panels switch from the rounded corner, which denotes that we're watching a video within the comic. Right. They switch from the rounded corners to the square corners, which usually means this is real and happening now, is usually what that means. Usually the rounded corners is a flashback or a TV screen.
Right. It's very strange. Like, even with that delineate, I don't think that's enough. Like, they must have some really good video recording equipment that it's like picking up his experience. I mean, that's how it reads. You point out rightly that it's sort of a break, but it's still, I think, on first read, it seems like somehow they were able to videotape his afterlife experience.
Yeah, I think maybe a lot of readers wouldn't have even noticed it. Like the black background around the panel borders makes it hard to even catch that these panels are a different shape than these panels are.
Right.
But yeah, all of a sudden we go into this section where, Blok is he's in repose in a grassy area, and he looks like he used to instead of looking like this.
Right. He actually changes a couple times.
Like he's just going through his life looks or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, there's even this part where he doesn't have a nose and he's in his Bad Rock pants.
Right. He sort of seems to have a happy ending. Maybe it's just a hallucination. We don't know.
Yeah, he seems at peace.
I always liked him. I was sorry to see him go, but somebody had to go, I guess.
I feel like sometimes I will defend the point of view that you don't need to kill these people,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't hurt to leave them alive and not do killings.
Right.
But then also, like, I guess it's fine. We got a lot of characters. You could kill one off.
Right.
There's going to be other good ones. It's just a comic book. Kind of two minds about it.
Yeah. Like Bierbaum on his blog pointed out that he worked good in a large group because he's kind of a background character for the most part. And it looks good to have some variation. So you have this big guy in the background. It looks great. But since we're switching to a much smaller team, it makes him sort of redundant. I don't think that's necessarily the case. Like, I think they could have done good stuff with him, but Giffen felt like somebody had to die, and of the people that they had to choose from, it was the least objectionable choice for him. Like, originally he was going to kill Ron Dar.
See, they should have killed Ron Dar.
Yeah, I would have missed Ron less than Blok, personally.
Yeah.
I mean, in that same blog post, he points out that one of the problems with Blok is, he said, all the non-human looking characters never connected as well. But I don't think that's something to give in to. Like, that's a problem. Probably the non-white ones didn't connect very well with the readers either. But I mean, we saw how.
Well, Blok was a kind of a useful character. Like,
yeah, asked all the obvious questions. So
right, and just like the whole, like, the camaraderie with Timberwolf stuff. Like,
yep.
Even though that was kind of corny, it was like,
right,
he serves a good purpose there.
Right. Yeah, and between him being naive and also trying to learn Legion history, it was an excuse for the other characters to explain to the reader anything, basically.
Right. And also, this little bit of Blok makes you wonder what's going on with this guy. Like, I remember in one of those, the 1984 series, the Paul Levitt series, like they sort of he sort of teased some kind of history for Blok, some kind of origin for Blok. And Blok followed this little guy who was going to tell him some secrets.
Oh,
and in typical Levitt's fashion, Blok didn't do anything. Just lost interest in the storyline, and it didn't happen. And that's the most anybody ever put into talking about Blok. But see, it seems like Giffen actually had some investment. Like, the Strata character had some kind of storyline going over in Legion 89 and 90. Blok has changed his appearance. Giffen always did that. Giffen's the one who made him, like, start having volcanoes growing out of his body and stuff, and was trying. And yeah, like this part where he's hibernating here, like, okay, so it's boring and he's asleep, but like, this is the most character development this guy's ever had in these 2 pages, and then we blow him up and he's dead.
I mean, I was kind of bummed because I could sense he wasn't popular enough that anyone would probably bother to resurrect him, but it never felt as final as like a human's death, because for all we know, like, those rocks could start growing into new blocks at some point, or
you can collect them all and heat them up and they go back together.
Right.
Yeah, there's a ton, like, the excuse that, like, oh, Blok is the one who was least popular and who fans would care about the least, so we should kill him. Like, what the fuck about, I don't know who, like, all the other Legionnaires who never made it into this series, they never really did anything. Wildfire, like, he was cool, everybody liked Wildfire, but they never brought him back for a long time. It's
kind of a cop-out to kill off a character no one cares about anyway. Like, there's no real kill a major character. If you're going to kill somebody, have some guts about it. Yeah,
this should have been Brainiac 5. Where would you be without him? That's some challenge to your storytelling.
Actually, that's, though, I wouldn't want him dead either, but that would actually make a lot of sense story-wise, because he's there their plot cop-out device.
Yeah, exactly.
So it would make things way more challenging if they didn't have him.
Yeah, but wasn't it in that 5 years later oral history thing where Giffen's like, I didn't like Blok, I decided to kill him? Wasn't that where that came from?
Maybe. That sounds different than what Bierbaum said, but these guys are getting older and they tell the same stories over and over, and I think they change in their heads. I think there's there's multiple conflicting anecdotes even from the same people.
I just kind of remember Giffen saying like, "Oh, we need to kill a Legionnaire. Which one don't I like? Blok.
Right.
Boom, he's dead."
There's also like the hat story, which I've heard him apply to two different things. One, this, like they were going to draw a name out of the hat, and whoever they got was going to get killed, and it would be Blok. That seems unlikely to me that they would have just happened to grab the, oh, I guess it's not Ultra Boy or anyway,
it's not Cosmic Boy, huh?
Right. But then there's also like he's used that hat story to explain which character, like he was going to kill like half the adults and half the kids, and make like a half and half team. I think at one point.
All right, killed Blok. This is his head. It's miscolored here.
Right.
They get it right on the next page.
One last thing though on Blok. I mean, though I'm not a fan of really anything post Zero Hour. He does come back, of course, in the Paul Levitz retro boot. And from what I've seen, it looks like he gets a lot more attention.
I think he doesn't. He's in it, but I think he is just only there to be a supporting character to the White Witch storyline that's going on. Okay. And White Witch goes from being the White Witch to being the Black Witch.
Not the Red Witch.
Nope. Black Witch. Mm-hmm. Like Lord of the Rings type of shit, I guess, is happening or something. Mm-hmm. One interesting thing about this last page of the Blok snuff film, a little bit of Comic Sans down here. Todd Klein didn't do a printout of his Mac computer for this end tape. He just pasted up some Comic Sans for that.
Yeah, it makes it feel a little ambush buggish.
Yeah, a little cartoony there, huh?
Yeah.
But it's kind of a joke, too.
Right.
They're like, oh, very impressive that this guy was able to kill the Legionnaire. I believe we've found our man. The
one other thing I'd say about the weird segue into the afterlife or hallucination, whichever it is in the same issue we're showing these probes that can see through people's point of view. So if it was recorded through one of those, maybe they would see,
Yeah. If he was,
But it doesn't
depends on how that works, I guess. This is more of an internal look.
Right. But if it's somehow...
Can the probes see your dreams? I wonder.
Right.
But they do have some magic-y crap on those guys, so who knows what they can see. Is Mordru like Santa Claus? Does he know what I want in my heart?
I don't know. I want to learn more about those probes. Like you said, he might have just gotten a hold of them and rigged them, but maybe he's the manufacturer. Maybe that's how he's making his legit business in the future, creating these probes. And, like Chameleon Boy has one in his office taking notes, not knowing that it's, spying on him.
Like those probes they're seeing like what I see.
Right.
It's not the one that I own watching me. It's what I actually see.
Right.
So I don't know. I think Mordru just bought them he bought a bunch of them with his like corporate discount, and got his IT department to put this magical thing on them.
Right.
This Vikros guy who's a new character. We didn't really talk about him. He's like I don't know what he is. All black face is what that guy is.
Yeah, he probably bought him with like the pandemic relief money he got.
Oh yeah, PPP loan.
Right,
definitely.
A big PPP loan during the Validus
Fucking
Plague.
Mojay Desai gave him one of those. No questions asked.
During the Validus Plague.
Yeah. End tape.
We now see Siobhan Aaron. She has intercepted the tape. I think she's spying on the Dominators, right?
I think that's what happens. Like, yeah, she's watching the tape. She's real upset. She tells herself that this is no time to get emotional.
Right. We know that she is aligned with the Resistance. Yeah, and there's an interesting thing here where she says she needs to try not to cry because it will blur the message, the transmission, which makes me think like she's intentionally possibly using one of these probes to transmit information. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is a weird thing to say. Like, does she know that Mordru is seeing what she sees? Or something like that?
Or does the Resistance also have them and use them in a similar fashion?
Yeah.
She's talking about sending it to...
She says the net's got to know.
Yeah.
And I thought I thought that meant that she's just like going to email it or put it up on Reddit so the whole world can see that.
Right.
That the Dominators have sent out an assassin to kill the Legionnaires. But yeah, the one about blurring the transmission, like I didn't quite get what that could mean.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. The fact that we keep going back to this and it's introduced here, it seems to me that it has to somehow be connected to this thing the probes are doing over and over in this issue.
It's true. I mean, I also like when we first saw the probes, maybe back in issue 1, I mentioned that like I think they must have had some kind of back of their mind plan to do a story where whatever, all the probes revolt or need to gain their humanity or something like that. They never really got around to that. And I bet maybe this was some foreshadowing to that.
Mm-hmm.
But this specific moment where she's like, it's going to blur the transmission, I don't quite get that because it seems like only these guys who Mordru is using, and they have this little thing stuck in their head, like he's done some kind of magics on them to give them the power to spy on people through their own vision. How could Officer Aaron know that that's happening?
So then we go back to Tharn, back to Mordru, and he is talking to someone named Vrykos, who is apparently a Dracula, or a vampire rather. I read somewhere that they originally intended to put him on the team, but they just kind of abandoned it. If he pops up later or not.
I think he gets a little bit of screen time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think once they kind of solve the Mordru problem, you don't see him again.
So they've been listening in via the probe to the guys on Rembor, and he now knows part of their mission, Ultra Boy, Cosmic Boy, and Chameleon Boy, is they want to hunt down or get Misa, who they know is with Mordru. So he knows they're coming for him.
Yeah, and we know Misa is the White Witch.
The White Witch.
Last time I remember seeing her, she showed up in the Magic Wars to help out the Legionnaires, but prior to that, she had gotten pissed and left the team.
Right.
She left for about 6 months and then came back.
She was not cool with them killing the Infinite Man.
Right. They were like, well, he's a vegetable. Who cares? And she's like, well, that's, how do you know where life begins and ends or something like that? And she split.
6 months Legion time, is that what you're saying? Because I don't think she showed up till like the last couple.
No, it was 6 months of David time. Okay. It was from issue 50 or 51 until, I guess more like 10 months, huh? Till about 63, right?
Right,
so
right.
I guess a year she was gone for 12 issues.
David time goes at half speed.
Ugh, I wish. Seems like it goes at like double speed.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking life. It's not long enough.
No. It's too long.
Sometimes it feels too long, but then I think about it. It's like, no, it's just not long enough. Sucks.
Yeah.
Life sucks.
Yes. Life sucks. No. What's wonderful is the way memory works. If you do something really routine, the way you experience it, it seems to go really slow because you're not engaged in it. but the way you remember it, it seems to go very fast because there's nothing distinct about this day to distinguish it from the day before and the day before. So they get crunched together in your memory. So you get the worst of both. The day drags. It feels like it's never going to end. But when you think back, there's nothing there. It's like, and there's the expression connected to that, right? Like the days are long, but the years are short.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yep.
Ideally, you want the opposite, you know.
Right. Yeah, I was just reading that Joe Jella interview today. He died, and they posted this interview with him on Comics Journal. And like within the first little intro of it, he's like, sometimes I remember that I'm 90 years old, and I start to get really worried.
Yeah. That's comforting to know that it doesn't get any easier.
Yeah.
There's all that like wise acceptance that you see on TV is bullshit. Yeah. People are every bit as scared to die at 90 as they are at 40.
And he goes on, he's like, I'm healthy. I'm really healthy.
Well, hopefully they hook you up with more and more like morphine and stuff towards the end. So you can be good with it. Like, fuck it, I'm going to be dead anyway. Give me some heroin.
Well, geez, I hope that there's a point that comes where they're like, you're not going to get any better. I'm not going to keep feeding you morphine. How about I give you the permanent dose of morphine? You know what I mean?
Oh, right.
But people are so against that shit. I don't know.
Well, they do. They do give it to people all the time. They just have to kind of accidentally do it.
Yeah, I guess.
They can't like officially do it.
It just should be official. I should be able to do
absolutely.
That if I want,
Absolutely.
Like that Dr. Kevorkian guy, dude's a hero. You know what I mean? Like that's the way I see it. But so many people are like, he's a killer, taking life away from people or whatever. Right. I don't even know what people's complaint is about this guy, like helping people not to suffer for more years if they don't want to.
I don't know. I just know that they're the exact same people who want to see like public executions.
Yeah. Well, they want people to suffer their whole lives.
Right.
Yeah, they're all pro-lifers. And
they're totally okay with capital punishment, even though like an absurd amount of times it's been proven that people, particularly minorities, have been put to death wrongly. But if someone's like old and in pain, no, we can't. It's not God's will. You can't unplug this woman who's been brain dead for 20 years.
I know. What the fuck? Yeah, that was a huge case. I forgot that woman's name, right?
Terry Schiavo.
Right? Yeah. Kevorkian wasn't part of that, though, right?
No, unfortunately.
I have to go to the bathroom.
All right.
We're only halfway through the comic book right now.
Are we?
Yep. The staples are showing.
Are you serious? Oh, shit. I don't think so. Maybe.
What do you mean, maybe? It's like you see them. We're 50%
I
of the
wonder
way.
if maybe there's a lot of ads in the back. Because we're on, we finished page 15, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, we did. So we're technically on page 16.
I mean, we can turn this into a two-parter. This is whatever you want.
It's just such a slight boring issue to turn it into two parts.
This is the beefcake page.
Wow.
We have Joe and Reap in thongs, showing off their muscles to the alien ladies.
Yeah, what is the purpose of this scene of them in the resort pool?
To show off their dad bods, to show that they're still viable. I don't.
Yeah, the gist is I guess that Chameleon Boy is trying to make sure and convince Ultra Boy to join the team and give up this great thing he's got going on Rimboard of being a smuggler, give up being Han Solo, and become just go back to being boring ass Ultra Boy, square cut Ultra Boy again.
But Joe's okay with it. He says, I think the guy's name is Phil, will be able to watch the place while he's gone. So maybe he's hoping to end up back there eventually.
Yeah, and this guy Phil, it's spelled F-I-L. So it doesn't sound so much just like some dude named Phil, you know.
I mean, there are quite a few names like that, right? Where they sound like modern day names, but they're spelled strangely.
Right, yeah. But earlier when you were like, oh, it's
I used to think Tom was that, but apparently there are people walking around Thom.
Tom.
I think the Radiohead guy is Thon.
Oh yeah, Tom York. But it occurred to me earlier when you were like, oh yeah, he has some guy named Phil. I'm like, really, a guy named Phil? And I didn't put two and two together because it's another one of those things where like, oh, I didn't say it out loud. I just read this word F-I-L. And it's like, oh yeah, it's just a dude. He's got this dude named Phil and a guy named whatever, Rob or whatever, running the place.
Phil's a good name. My son's name is Phil.
You ever call him Phil?
All the time.
Really?
We haven't gotten to it's Phil now, Dad. That's probably a couple of years from now. Anyway, so Joe is down for going, but he insists on them bringing Kano along, his new protege.
Yeah, she doesn't seem like she's his girlfriend, but
no, definitely
he likes her, and she has very similar powers to his ex or his ex. She's dead. His old girlfriend, wife.
Yeah, that is kind of a weird, kind of creepy connection, but association. But it definitely seems more like paternal or big brother, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get to see her in action here, fighting a punching bag, I guess, some sort of automated machine that ends up beating her ass. So she uses her powers to destroy it, and then
she sees Chameleon Boy and Ultra Boy doing whatever they do when they're in the shower together.
Right. Makes the water cold.
Yeah, it seems like it becomes a adult video scenario at the end of this. Maybe.
Oh, okay. Yeah, at first I was wondering maybe she's using her powers in some strange way, like lending like mass to the water droplets, so like hitting them like rocks.
That
would be kind of cool.
Yeah, instead of just showing up and like embarrassing these guys.
Well, these guys aren't embarrassed. I mean, they're walking around in thongs.
Yeah, it's strange. They make it seem like they're going to be embarrassed when a girl shows up in the shower with them.
Right.
Even though, they're not embarrassed by these girls checking them out.
Right. But
strange.
She is like, I mean, what is she, like 14? She seems like
she doesn't look 14.
She might not be drawn 14, but I think the idea is she is closer to the age that they were when they first joined. Like the next generation.
Yeah, I guess maybe maybe she's supposed to be 16 or 17 or something.
Right. And I think that's further reinforced later, like because she comfortably fits in with the SW6 guys. Anyway, we're back on Wynneth again. And it looks like one of the Rands, I'm guessing he's kind of like a security guy. It inspects a suspicious package that is addressed to Lightning Lad's son. It's revealed to be the dismembered remains of Blok with a pretty psychotic note from Roxxas in it.
The letter kind of alludes to the statues of the dead Legionnaires that Lightning Lad has bought and put on his plantation.
Right.
He's like, here's another one.
Is it clear in this page? Because I don't think we mentioned it earlier, but something has changed with Garth. He now has a cane. He might actually need it. It might not just be some ceremonial thing to go with his colonial clothes. Right?
Oh, he's not just a rich plantation owner.
So anyway, Garth orders Blok's remains to be brought to Shanghala for a hero's burial.
Rip Blok.
What a shame. The Dominators are appalled at Roxxas's lack of discretion. They basically get the opposite of what they set out to do. Since he sent the body to Wynneth, Roxxas has likely galvanized the Legion to get together, which is the very opposite of what they wanted him to do. One of the two even makes a pretty funny comment that Roxxas may as well have just split the remains and sent the other half to Rimbor with the other Legionnaires are.
Yeah, and there's this other Dominator he's still very confident
Right.
that he can control Roxxas, and Roxxas is going to kill or do whatever he says he's going to do.
Right.
And he says the ex-Legionnaires will never know, and the council, his own boss, they're not going to know that. Well, I don't know what are they going to know?
I don't know, but I don't think I picked up on that. These guys are they're like a renegade faction of Dominators, or they've got some conspiracy going on here.
I think
within the Dominators.
I think the one guy thinks that his plan to get Roxxas to do his bidding is actually going to pay off, and it will, when all's said and done, when the dust clears, his superiors will be impressed instead of annoyed that this guy did this stupid thing, and that they're not going to know. He's going to have fulfilled his duties satisfactorily, and they won't know that he used this maniac, highly conspicuous method of doing it.
Right. Wasn't a terrible idea. The last page is, I don't know, it's kind of redundant. There's not much to say other than it's Rock walking around on Rembor, starting to think maybe this will work, this plan.
Yeah, this is the exact same last page as issue number 1, basically, right?
Doesn't really add much.
This is in case you didn't read issue 1 and 2. This is for you.
It's saying, look, it's going to get hopeful again. Don't quit yet.
He is walking by this place where Altar Boy lived,
and got blown up.
Yeah, it was like a city block of apartments that was blown up and destroyed, and a bunch of people killed. Altar Boy's kind of seemed like his girlfriend got killed, but Altar Boy doesn't care anymore. He's totally forgot about this.
Right.
He's like feeling good. He's getting his team back together. Bros before hoes.
And what's going on? Are people shooting at each other on the?
No, I think it's some kids kidding around, and they're like throwing rocks at like the force field electric fence.
I think that's the end of the first story.
Yeah, that's it. That's the end. I got the credits in the last panel. Typeset this issue.
What is it? Interfaces?
Oh yeah, it's like People Magazine.
It's like a what do you call this? A profile piece, an expose. It's just a piece about Lightning Ring Ranch. Lightning Ring Ranch. What is it?
I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's just like a profile in the Sunday paper about the Rands.
They interviewed the family.
Yeah, and they explain that they're big farmers now.
It explains that it's totally customary for people to work naked there. It mentions that Garth's cane is because he is partially crippled and slightly disfigured from the Validus Plague.
Oh yeah, this kind of just introduces us to the Validus Plague, doesn't it?
Yeah, it goes into the history of the Validus Plague, and it mentions that it came from their other son who wasn't present, Garidian, that they ended up forming a Validus Foundation that Mecht runs to help people who were injured or the families of people killed by it, I guess. They also rehabilitated the quarantine, and that's where Garidian is right now. And I think that's also isn't that where Kent Shakespeare is?
Mm-hmm.
They also kind of go into how Mecht has also been rehabilitated, and he's a good guy now.
Sounds like typical rich people bullshit, where they start a foundation,
right,
to like try and I don't know, take the heat off of something that they're responsible,
right,
for the Validus Plague that harmed a bunch of people. It's like, we'll start a nonprofit and we'll skim some money off of it, and we'll take the tax burden off of ourselves.
I thought it was weird that they named it Validus, but I guess they want to take the onus off them, and like, this is that Validus thing Darkseid did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's nice that Mecht was privileged enough that he could like turn his life around and do this. He's not spending the rest of his life in jail.
Like if he was poor, he'd probably still be in jail.
Right.
One thing that stuck out to me was where they're talking about Garth Rands' disfigurement, and he displays the balloon-like pink swelling on his left leg and on his arm. I don't know, just like I'm getting interviewed by People magazines like, hey, you want to see the balloon-like swelling on my leg? And he like pulls his pant leg way up.
Right.
Seems like there would be a picture of that, but
yeah, and it affected his regrown arm.
Yeah, I wasn't quite sure what they're trying to get at with that. Like, in part of this, it said that it didn't affect people who are not from Wynneth or from Titan at all.
Right.
But he had a regrown arm, and it affected that regrown part before it affected the rest of his body.
Mm-hmm.
So what did that mean? Why did they put that detail in there?
Where's Dr. House when you need him?
Mm-hmm. Maybe Dr. Jimmel could figure this out.
Oh, right. If you supply him with enough credits.
Yeah.
His vouchers. So then we have another 2-pager, what's it, xenobiology?
Yeah, the xenobiology update, which is kind of like
right.
New England Journal of Medicine.
Which, oddly enough, is name checked in here. Apparently, the New England Journal of Medicine is still going in the 30th century, and Quirrell Doc's got some of his research into there.
Oh, yeah, there it is.
It's kind of a history of the Validus Plague, and like you said, they mentioned it only affects people from Wynneth and Titan. Graham, the brother, is for some reason immune. Was it Graham? Graham's the one living, right. What's the other brother's name?
Garridan is the one on quarantine.
Yeah, Garridan was patient 0. And that was discovered by Quirrell Doc's Brainiac 5. Apparently, he put it all together when he was visiting them. And we can safely assume that the child that he's obsessed with curing on page 1 is this kid.
Uh-huh.
It has a lot of symptoms that seem reminiscent of a recent pandemic we've had. Some of it, except maybe not the skull part falling off. It is mentioned somewhere that like the side effects, it almost seems like it starts to make people look like the monster Validus.
Yeah, that's kind of what I got. Like it's starting to expose your brain by messing with your the shape of your head, your skull or something. I thought it was just kind of weird how, I mean, they have all this jargon, and it's written like a peer-reviewed medical paper or something, but like, I don't know, I didn't feel like Brainiac 5 was really any kind of detective in figuring out that the only people who got it were the people who came in contact with Garrett and Rands. Like, like where else would they have gotten this? I guess to me it seemed like they disguised the simplicity of the diagnosis and the solution to the problem with a bunch of text.
Right, because they do mention that he was trying to solve the problem, but it sounds like he just happened to like be staying with the Randses at that time, and then he noticed. Just a huge coincidence,
right?
A lucky coincidence, or
right. He noticed that everybody in the household, except for this one kid with the weird medical history who used to be a monster, everybody else is getting sick.
Right.
All the Saturnians and all the Wynathians who are in the proximity are getting sick.
There's also a weird mention that possibly the bacteria bred in the time strain. Giving it some kind of unusual science/mystical properties.
Yeah, you can travel through time and get sick, maybe, and turn into a monster. Like Superboy never caught this. I guess he's incapable of catching it because he's not from the right planet, huh?
True that.
Yeah, this is a lot of stuff that they never really followed up on too much, I don't think.
When it never got fully resolved because they got canceled, but it was still like being dealt with as recently as the Unchained issue.
Right, that's issue 50, and this is issue 3, so that's 4 years later. They never really got around to it. It's a good idea for them to put in a bunch of stuff to springboard storylines from.
Mm-hmm.
Never really got around to this one. And I don't know that they had an idea for it. Maybe they did.
It just depends on who we're talking about. Like, I doubt Keith Giffen did. I bet Tom and Mary Bierbaum did.
I wonder what they would have done. Like, what do you think they would have done?
I don't know. There's maybe, for instance, maybe everyone starts turning into Validus. There's just Validuses everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Like Lightning Lad and Saturn Girl both get turned into Validuses, and that's how you wind up killing off one of them. Like the guy who walks with a cane, he's going to get turned into a monster and get killed, right?
Maybe. But bad luck is his thing, so it seems like he'd be the guy who'd survive it.
He'll have to go back to having the really unlucky robot arm.
So, yeah, then he'd be stuck with 2 robot arms. Damn it. The Luck Lords strike again.
Mm-hmm.
You have one last page. It starts black, which I guess is sort of implying death, right? And we have 3 voices here. One is clearly Mon-El. One is probably the Time Trapper. But then there's one in between. I'm not entirely sure who the third voice is. Do you have any idea?
I do know because I've read issue 4 a bunch of times. It's
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. I remember now.
Looks like Mon-El is getting resurrected from his grave. It explodes
for one last adventure, the last Mon-El story. We get to see him one more time. We might see someone who looks kind of like him, but he's not Mon-El.
This is just like, it's like bios of Al Gordon, Tom and Mary Bierbaum, Mark Waid. There's not even a Keith Giffen bio in here, which is kind of crazy. Oh, it does have this nice what has gone before paragraph that summarizes the last 2 issues.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. We didn't need to do videos about this. If the 2 issues, it's right here. So that's Legion of Superheroes number 3. I thought it was actually kind of a boring issue.
I thought it was a pretty entertaining comic.